get to the next slide.
You can just hit escape and click here and then just hit play. All right? And so once we finish, between you and me, we'll move this back.
All right, I think we'll begin. I think we have a long meeting tonight. So let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. We have a pretty big crowd, and that's good to see. A lot of excitement on the agenda tonight. I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being broadcast over local access television and recorded by our local print media. First item on the agenda is the minutes presented for approval. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, the Superintendent's Award. Jane, you're going to present this award, and I've only heard excellent things about this student. Outstanding role model for the community, so I look forward to hearing about him.
So I will tell you that as superintendent, this is probably one of the best things that I get to do. This young man that we're going to honor tonight is truly a gift to not only Lynnfield High School, but to our entire community. His name is Shreyas Kudamoti. And Shreyas, we are so happy to have you here with us tonight. I want to talk just a little bit about why you're getting this award. First of all, the award is for academic excellence. But I have to tell you that as I was talking about Shreyas to some of the people at the high school, his guidance counselor, Mr. Cleary, Mr. Sear, I heard the same thing all the way around. And Mr. and Mrs. Kudamoti, you should be very proud of the boy that you have raised. What I heard was that this young man is truly a wonderful young man, that not only does he have the academics piece of it, he also is a wonderful athlete. He is a wonderful musician. But beyond that, and probably more important to you, his mom and dad, he is a terrific young man in terms of his character and in terms of how he treats people and how well respected he is in the Lynnfield High School community. I think it's important to state that Shreyas has only been with us since his freshman year. That's when he moved to Lynnfield, and he has made an unbelievable impact in such a short period of time. Kathy Moody, his guidance counselor, said that Shreyas is the type of young man that he will stay with her for a very long time because of the impact that he has had. She said that he is one of the few boys that when she starts a conversation with him, he always starts the conversation with, "How are you? And tell me something about you." And I just think that that shows a level of maturity that is beyond his years. I will tell you, before I met Shreyas, I had the joy of meeting his little brother as his little brother entered the community of Summer Street School. And I just recently put together Shlok and Shreyas as being in the same family. So Shreyas, at this point, I would love for you to come up and accept this award for your excellence.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shreyas, thank you. I really appreciate it. I think you're a great role model, obviously, for our Lynnfield Public Schools, and you make our job so easy, and we have students like you in the community. So thank you. Your family should be proud. Jane, thank you for a wonderful presentation. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, the band extended field trip.
Good evening, everyone. I have an updated itinerary for you. So,
Thank you.
Is this good for me to speak? So great, cool. So I just want to say I've worked with Shreyas for the last 4 years and absolutely echo everything that was said. He's an amazing kid and an amazing musician, and it's been such a pleasure. So thank you for all your hard work in the band program as well. So this year the high school band program plans to travel to Chicago, Illinois. This will be the third time I've gone to Chicago with the students. I'm excited to go back. We've had a really enriching experience the other 2 times in 2007 and 2011. So looking forward to that. Anticipated number of students going is about 35. Once I get deposits from students, I'll have a firm number on that, and usually have between 5 and 8 chaperones who attend those trips with us. So planning on going April 11th through the 14th, which is a Saturday through a Tuesday. We just get better airfare on those days of the week because I guess they're less traveled. So we got a pretty good fare on JetBlue for those dates. So students will be out of school on Monday and Tuesday, April 13th and 14th. Chicago is an awesome city from a musical standpoint. It's there's a lot of blues music, a lot of jazz music originated there. There's a great gospel culture as well, so there's a lot of interesting music for the kids to experience, and so it's a really enriching city from a musical standpoint. It also has really interesting architecture, and it's sort of a great melting pot of cultures, and so we get to experience some of that while we're there. The cost is a little bit less. I've been working on hotels and things like that over the past week, so I think we're going to be more around $975 for the total cost of the trip. So, and I'll update you on that as I continue to talk. So we'll be working with Jody's Travel. Jody is a Lynnfield High School graduate. She owns her own travel agency up in Boxford, and she and I have worked together for 10 years now, and she's fantastic, and she bends over backwards to make sure that we get the best price on everything we can. So she takes care of the accommodations, hotel, airfares, things like that. And then I do the rest of the planning, meals and performances and that sort of stuff. So we work together to make sure we get the students the best price. And it's already come down quite a bit, so which is great. While we're in Chicago, we'll be using a bus company. I have contacted a ground travel specialist in Chicago. They've given me a price. I have a couple of other quotes coming in. So I work with those companies, and those companies are all insured for $5 million or something like that. So if anything happens while we're on the bus, the insurance covers that. On your updated itinerary, I've given you the Spring Hill Suites, which is where we stayed last time. There's a convention in town that weekend, so they jacked up the price quite a bit. So we found another hotel that's within about a 30-minute drive of downtown. So that was about half the price. So we're going to go with that, and we'll have the bus the whole weekend. So that sort of travel won't be a problem. And I guess I'll talk you through the itinerary, and then if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer those. On Saturday, April 11th, we'll depart at 7:15 a.m. from Logan Airport. So I'll be so excited to be in the Lynnfield High School band room at 4:45 a.m., but that's how it goes. So so we'll fly to Chicago and to O'Hare Airport. We'll have lunch around noon, and then we're going to take a boat cruise since we're going in April, last time we went in March, since we're going in April, there's a boat cruise that talks about the architecture of the city. So I think that'll be a nice way to sort of get the kids acclimated with the surroundings. Then we'll check into our hotel. We'll go to dinner at Andy's Jazz Club, which I've done on both trips. It's a great little band that plays there, and they've done some nice meals for us. So we'll go to the Hancock Tower Observatory, which is one of the tallest buildings in Chicago, and that's a great view of the entire skyline. So we'll do that, and then we'll hit the hay. So because we're gonna perform the next day. So in the morning on Sunday, there's a gospel brunch at the House of Blues. So I'd like to take the kids to that. Then we'll go over to the Navy Pier, which is a amusement and shopping area in Chicago, and they have a stage area where student groups can perform. So we'll perform there, and we've done that a couple of times too. So after that's the Shed Aquarium. It's a beautiful aquarium. It's right on Lake Michigan, and it's got a really nice view in there. They do the dolphin show, and all that sort of stuff. So that's a good sort of decompression activity after we've performed. So it's a good way to sort of come down from the performance. Well, I'm working to get a local blues musician to do a clinic with us. That's something that we do on all our trips, is work with local professional musicians, and that's always a really fulfilling experience for the kids. Bless you. Comedy's a big thing in Chicago. So last time we went to the Improv Olympics, and so I'm planning on doing that again. And across the street, there's a Moroccan restaurant. So last time I took the kids there, and they really were into it. And the guy sort of talked to us about Moroccan music and that sort of stuff, because he knew he was a music group. And so that was a really fun experience and something a little out of the ordinary. So. On Monday, we'll do a community service project. We've done our last several trips. When we were in Chicago last time, we did an outreach program with Housing Project, where we worked with some kids and sort of did an instrument petting zoo, and talked to the kids about being musicians and let them try out the instruments and that sort of thing. We built sort of mock instruments out of, rubber bands and cardboard boxes, and made little guitars and stuff like that. So we'll do something like that. Last year when we were in New Orleans, we did a performance for some elementary school students. And so that was a great chance for the kids to sort of connect with the community. They got to have some pizza while they're in Chicago, of course. So we'll go to Exchequer Restaurant. They've been really great to us the other times we've been there. Then downtown, there's the famous Chicago Theater. So there's a backstage tour of that we'll do. And then something new that I haven't done before, there's a German music and food venue called the Hofbrauhaus, and so they have the big Alpenhorn and the polka music and that sort of thing. So that'll be some fun music to listen to while we eat. And then there's a jazz showcase, which is another jazz venue that we'll go to that night. And then Tuesday we'll get up, pack, and come on home. So that's the plan. Like I said, the new accommodations, the website's down there at the bottom. And do you guys have any questions for me?
Tom, I thank you. I feel like I've been. I just went to Chicago with that itinerary. It sounds like a great trip. Do we have any questions?
I do.
A comment?
Tom, thank you. The community service project on Monday, it sounds like you might be working with some elementary students.
Yes.
Are they in school in session?
I believe that it is, yes. So.
Sounds like you need to be more definitive about about the community projects.
Yep.
I'm just curious about that.
Yep,
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
Be glad to. So as soon as I firm that up, I'll send an
Appreciate
email
it.
and let you know.
Okay.
So.
Any other comments?
I just have a quick comment that this is a trip that is just loaded with music. And I think it's great to see that there's such a focus on what the trip is all about. So,
Thank you very much. So.
Well, Tom, thank you. We'll vote on this next meeting.
Sounds good.
Is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine. Is there any, in the past, I've collected deposits and sort of held them until you guys vote. Is that something I can
You can
do
absolutely
again?
do
So-
that, no problem.
Sounds good. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
everyone.
appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Going to move on to the next agenda item. We're going to discuss the MCAS results. They were just, glimpse in the classroom. That's right. I apologize, Jane.
That's great.
Glimpse in the classroom. This is an exciting part of the agenda. Jane, this is something that you've put together, and I think we're excited to see how technology is working in the classroom. We're seeing how it's working with the school committee right now. So if you want to start that presentation.
Sure. So the whole idea about glimpse into the classroom really stems from the fact that everybody in this room is really here for one reason. It's really to serve the students of Lynnfield. And we talk about the students all the time, school committee meetings. That's why we're here. And I just thought that it would make sense if we heard from the students. And so one of the things that I would like to be able to do is to really highlight the work that the students are doing in the classroom, but highlight it in such a way that we understand the importance of the elementary work, the emphasis that has on the middle school, and the emphasis that the middle school work has on the high school. So we use the words vertical articulation all the time, and I really thought it would be important for the students to really show us in real time what that looks like. And so periodically throughout the year, you will see a glimpse in the classroom on the agenda for the school committee meetings. And what that means is that there will be a group of teachers or department heads here with students from every level, from the elementary level, the middle school level, and the high school level. And they will literally walk you through either a standard or a strand in what it looks like in real time. And so we did choose technology for the first one. And no surprise, I asked Jed Judkins to coordinate that and head that up for us. And so she has tapped Liz LaMonica on the shoulder from Lynnfield High School. She's a social studies teacher. Alex Salucci is from the middle school. She is a science teacher. And Alex Karam is from Summer Street Elementary School, and she is a media center teacher. And so now I'm going to turn it over to you, Jen, and you can give a little bit of an introduction.
So thank you for having us. We're looking forward to sharing with you how it is that we provide instruction in technology in different grade levels across the district. So unlike other curricular areas, technology is not taught in isolation, but instead becomes just a way to enhance the learning in other areas. So technology is always the secondary piece that comes into a lesson. So teachers will start with a lesson objective, and then from there, they are, oftentimes they'll consult with me or with the media specialist in their building for some advice about the best tools to enhance their learning objective and to hit different technology standards while still addressing what it is that they sought out to teach and work with students. So today we have some special guests with us, as you've heard, that are going to share with you what this looks like in their classroom, and we're going to start with Ms. Karam and her students.
So I have two students from Mrs. Roberta's fourth grade class. This is Drew Benyaco and Katie Adamo. And the learning objective for the fourth grade class was actually a wonderful lesson just by itself. And it was students would summarize a book that they read that September to share with their peers, which is actually a pretty difficult skill and something that hits a lot of standards on its alone. But we were fortunate enough to get 10 iPads at Summer Street this year. And a new app, Adobe Voice. I've had the pleasure of doing it with second, third, and fourth. And when I did it with the third grade class, I sort of sent it out, and it immediately became obvious that Michelle was like, let's do this and marry the two. And we're gonna get a chance to listen to theirs, and they're gonna talk to you about what that entailed. But I think in about a 30-minute time, every kid in the class have recorded a book talk using this app, which uploads to a website. It's very easy. It looks very professional, as you'll see. As far as the ELA standards of speaking and listening, it was great. There's a lot of self-editing that's going on. They were working in partners, a lot of partner feedback. They could finally hear themselves read something, see if they wanted to fix anything. Reading standards, sharing books that they had loved, of course. And then the technology, sharing things through media, through video, working on their communication skills, their presentation choices, and they'll talk to you about that. So Katie's going to talk to you about the project and a couple parts of it, and then we're going to watch. Talk in the mic, Kate.
Mrs. Robert had us do a project where we wrote down all the books we read for September and how many minutes we read it. At the end of the month, she had us do a project where we summarized the main events of the story and put them together. After that, we went down to the media center and used Adobe Voice and took photos of ourselves and our projects. And we recorded with a partner. You could listen to yourself, read it, and your partner, and if you didn't like it, you could listen to it and re-record it.
What else did you have to choose, Trip?
You also had to choose the layout, how much pictures you wanted to have, and we chose 2 pictures, both of us, to take a picture of ourselves and the picture of what we wrote down. We chose the color for our background, and we also chose the music for in the background. And also the recording, we had to hold down a button, but it was still pretty easy for it.
Could you do it again?
Yeah, I could do it again. Because I thought it was pretty easy, and I did it in one try. I practiced before I did it. That's why I did it in one try. And that's it.
Yeah, let's listen. Actually, this is good.
Yeah, I think you have to do it.
Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. The genre is fantasy. This book is about Milo, the main character, that finds a toll booth in his room. Then he gets his car and drives past it. He starts an adventure and meets a dog named Talk in the humbug. Then he goes on a journey to save the princesses, Rhyme and Reason. I gave this book 5 stars because I loved the adventure. I thought it was great, and the detail and events and action were astonishing. Crap. But hilarious finale. This.
Alright, let's do Katie's quick. Why can't I touch with this? Oh, those don't work. That's why. The other thing that I found while I get this going, and the 3rd grade teachers were agreeing as well, it's a developmentally appropriate task for every child in the classroom, regardless of reading level, etc. So the pride they all felt was really nice to see, and I think that even makes it more rewarding. Katie, 9 years old.
Okay, ready? On purpose to build anticipation.
You're cutting into your 5 minutes, Jen, I'm just saying.
On the next slide, in case you wanted to see more, are the rest of the 4th grade as well as the 3rd graders that did it. And they did personality trait paragraphs, and they are definitely something to check out.
Happened again.
The title, New Wales Account, author Caroline Coleman, genre, fiction. This book is about when Ray and Ivy's parents were sentenced to jail for 25 years, never at the same time for embezzlement. Ray and Ivy were left to live with Marietta Nolan and her old husband Leona in a huge big house. Living in a big house isn't all fun and games though. There's a mysterious portrait. Also there's a decaying wedding cake with a spider inside. Things got even worse when Ray started wetting his bed. Marietta moves him into the laundry room and makes him lie on something Ivy and Ray call a torture device. They add it to evidence they've collected over time. Using the hidden will they found, they hold a trial with Ivy as judge. Will they send Marietta to jail? Will this be their parents beat the big house to find out? I give this book 4 stars because it is mysterious, adventurous, and you don't want to stop reading it.
Gives you the suspense.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Nice job. You just missed.
All right, you're all set. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for that presentation.
All right.
So in our 8th grade classroom, we had a unit on chemistry, and one of our learning objectives was really understanding how you know when a chemical reaction has actually happened. And so we kind of centered this around gathering evidence of chemical reactions. So the students actually performed 3 mini experiments within the context of the lab, and it's definitely a fun one that students enjoy quite a bit because we get to mix hydrochloric acid, and it makes bubbles and foams and has a temperature change, and we get to burn sugar, which is always just exciting because there's actually a flame in the room. Even though it's just a birthday candle, it's very exciting when you're in 8th grade. And then we get to mix 2 liquids together, and they suddenly change color and form a solid, which is kind of a neat reaction to watch a precipitate form. So that's always a great one. So in the context of this lab, we had decided that, you know, it was more than just obviously just about determining whether or not they could analyze and interpret the data. How do you gather that data? How do you show that? And so in the past, what we've done is, you know, obviously students have recorded observations, but they've also just had the task of saying, okay, well, visually there's a lot that goes on here. And so they've just had to do sketches of what they've done. And that's been great, but at the same time, really seeing what they were able to see, what they saw, and being able to take that image was a nice feature that we were able to kind of use and incorporate into the technology here. And the students were able to kind of edit some of their observations in real time as I could go around to their groups and say, well, what else did you notice? What else did you notice? And kind of pushing that envelope for them. And the nice part about being able to use technology in that way was then they could just keep adding more instead of filling in a finite box that's a 1.5 by 1.5 square on a paper. As much as room as they need is as much room as they have, and so that's kind of a nice benefit with this. But I'll let Sydney and Jonathan talk a little bit about that. Yes. Okay. Well, if even, do you want to do Jonathan first because he doesn't have his loaded? Okay. So you could just go through.
So there was a data collection that we did, and it's called Written Observation and Predictions were recorded directly into our labs. So basically, we could type in what we saw in their observation and just type it right in. There's observation before the reaction, predictions, and observation during the reactions, and observation after the reactions. We could write this all into the Google Drive without having like a set amount of space. We could have as much as we needed, so that if we did run out of space, we wouldn't be like forced to write a small amount. And there's also a comment button on it. So like if as Mrs. Swoosh said, she kept pushing us to write more and more. So if she wanted to fix, if she wanted something, she wanted us to fix something, that she would comment on it, and then we could go back in it, type it up, and we could and then we could press resolve and say that we fixed it.
Do you want your lab up, or do you want to just go off of that?
I'll just go off of this.
Okay.
So when we started the experiment, we took pictures of what we used, the stuff we used to produce the chemical reactions, and then we took all the stuff afterwards and showed us what happened to it once we combined stuff. And
So we were allowed to just see our visuals so we could go back into it and see what actually happened, so we could fix our notes compared to the photos, and it gave us much more of an opportunity to actually see the final product instead of small drawings, which sometimes didn't turn out as well as we hoped it would. But so.
And this was used with the camera feature on the Chromebook.
This is back to the comments. It was saying that if something was like, if she could highlight it and write a comment. So, for one of the examples, like break it down part by part. So what evidence was there for a chemical reaction, you could actually go back in and fix that, and then you could press the resolve button and say like, I fixed that. So it's not like kind of like just hand it in and just see what you did there. She can actually go back and help you, and before and after, so that it can help you do a better grade and helps you with your project.
And also when we went home and we had questions at home, we could make a comment to her comments, or we could send emails to her and she could go back into our labs and just comment on our labs. And we can do stuff from home, which it makes it much easier, because sometimes if we forgot papers at school, we couldn't finish our labs, but now it's online, so we can access it almost anywhere.
And the commenting feature is nice because it does allow, for instance, Jonathan had some questions about what to do with his work. I was able to put in some of those comments for him, and then we could reference that, so that even though we'd had a 5-minute conversation, that physical visual aspect for him that he could take home from that 5-minute conversation was always there. Wait, what did she say? What did she say that I needed to get? What were the questions that she had posed to me? And those were still there for him. And in Sydney's case, this was a pretty large lab for students to work on and analyze, which is obviously the goal here, is to really be able to analyze and interpret the data of the chemical reaction. Students were allowed to make some edits and corrections, and so then she could say, well, I had trouble on this and that. Can you come in and help me a little bit more? And so it could get a little bit more detailed with that commenting feature. And it did allow for a lot of communication both in and outside of the classroom, just kind of extending that opportunity for kids, because every time they interacted with their lab and made a comment to me, it also sent me an email alert that a student had a question. And it's a really focused way. Instead of, can you just help me, it's, can you help me on this part, on this question for this statement? And so the feedback can be really immediate, really pinpointed, and really beneficial for the student.
Thank you so much.
You're actually getting such a cool picture. I'm sitting here. You saw 4th grade, 8th grade, and now I'm going to bring you up to 12th grade. My name is Liz LaMonica. I am a social studies teacher up at the high school, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we've done in psychology this year. We chose to share with you tonight a technology feature called Google Classroom, and we're sharing it because it's being really widely used across the high school, and I think it's something that's made a big difference in a lot of our work. So again, I'm going to speak to it specifically with psychology. I have here with me Gabe Landau. I've cheated a little bit. I didn't bring 2, but I bought one really good one. He has been part of the student help desk for all the 4 years that he's been here. So when it comes to technology integration in the school, this is your guy. So he's going to help me explain to you guys what Google Classroom is. Specifically, the activity that I'm going to talk about is we do reflections in psychology. Psychology is all about human behavior, and I would be missing something if I didn't have the kids reflect on some of the topics that we do in class personally. With that being said, sometimes it's better to reflect outside and not maybe have it be public, so we do it in a private way through Google Classroom started this year. So you can see the objective up there is just to get them to reflect on the big ideas that go throughout the course. And of course, you have the school-wide expectations, things that we look for now because of NEASC, things like communicating effectively in written, oral, and visual forms, being able to read, comprehend, and analyze information effectively is specifically something we try to measure in the social studies department. So we integrate that as much as we possibly can. And the rubric that you'll see on here reflects those school-wide expectations as well. And you can see some of the ELA and the tech expectations also. So the blog I'm going to show you is just the first question that we started the year off, which asked them why they took psychology. A lot of them get into psych in their senior year. It's really different because they've been used to taking history. In the senior year, they get to choose what they take, and psychology is one of the options. And so the first question I ask them right off the bat is why they took it, and that will be the blog that we show. So if you want to.
Okay, so essentially this is this is what it looks like when you get into your Google Classroom. It's almost just like a list of all the classes that you're in. Each teacher will make one. If you look, I even have one for the debate team and one for the student help desk. For this one, this is my psychology classroom. So each assignment is shown. All the ones checked green are ones that I've completed. If we go up, these ones are ones that I still have to do. So if we go down to blog number 1, why did you take psychology? When you click on it, it brings you to the assignment page. And basically every file that the teacher adds will come here. So traditionally a teacher will hand out papers or tell you where to find them by going online, how to look it up. From here, everything is right in front of you. So this is the only file in here, so I'd click on it.
No more paper.
No more paper. And it would open up just like this. So the question is posed up top. It says, hello psych students, and it talks about the question, and then all I have to do is type in my response in the bottom right here. And this rubric is returned to me explaining how it was graded and how I did.
Now, the rubric is something I made using Google too. The rubric itself was Google spreadsheets, and then I have a couple Google extensions that allow me to go in and basically click one blog at a time. And the rubric I can click on, it automatically puts itself in the student's document, and I can click on it and grade it. And they get a lot of feedback for each one of the blogs because I have such a descriptive rubric. But it also doesn't take me that long to do, so you can give them a lot of feedback in a short amount of time. I love this new setup because it lets me go through and really let them know why I scored them the way they did. And again, the language is all based off of our school-wide expectations, which we started through NEASC, so we're still carrying that out now. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Well, Jane, I want to just thank you for those presentations. I think we've had a lot of great presentations on technology over the last year or two, and I think that's been my favorite because it has allowed us to see technology in action, actually in the hands of the students that we've delivered these products to. So thank you, Jane. I really appreciate that. Any comments or questions?
I just want to make a note that not only were the products, the technology products great, but the students presenting them did a great job presenting them. So clearly they're practicing not only the technology but the presenting to their peers. So it really shows. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
Yes.
MCAS results.
MCAS results. And so first up is the elementary school. And is Maureen and Christina, you two coming up? Okay. So Maureen is the ELA curriculum director for ELA and social studies for the elementary, and Christina Noce is the math and science curriculum director for the elementary.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. We're happy to be here today to share the results for the language arts MCAS scores from spring 2014 in grades 3 and 4, and Christina will be sharing the math piece as well. We just wanted to keep it brief today, where all of our grade levels are performing with advanced and proficient students combined scoring at or above 85%. Combined scores again for proficient and advanced. What we'd really like to highlight today is the work of our teachers, the work of our support staff, the work of our building principals, and the superintendent and school committee for allowing us to have the professional development time and the time where most of our action items take place in our data assessment meetings throughout the school year. As far as some data that we took away from the 2014 tests in English language arts, Across both schools, in third grade, we're really needing to focus more on, or continue our focus around key ideas and details, which is that big overarching comprehension piece. We've decided at the elementary level, at grades 3 especially, to revisit some of the strategies that we had put in place about 8 years ago, and just to refresh of the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing, and to be able to have a shared understanding again, because some of our faculty has moved on, and it's nice to revisit something that had a lot of success and to keep us moving in that direction. And I know I've come before you the last several years talking about we want to continue talking about open response and our short response. This year I looked at the data a little bit differently, and I looked at the state averages and where the state was falling compared to where we were falling in our both third and fourth grade. And we were scoring at minimal 14 percentage points above the state average in open response. And our multiple choice wasn't at that higher level. So it's careful for us to keep the big scope in place as well, because we're looking at individual questions sometimes and really tearing apart some data that may not help us when we're looking long term as far as the proficiency level of our students and how it translates into real life, not just on the test itself. So that being said, we're still trying to create ways to have those higher level comprehension questions in orally happening in the classroom as well as in a written format. In grade 4, our focus again is on the key ideas and details, which the 2011 framework really has higher level thinking. It's not just right there kind of, have you read the passage? It's that higher level, applying it to other things that have been read, or really getting into the author's choice or message. So being able to create situations where students are practicing that again in the classroom with their peers, not only in the testing format. Something that we continue to work on in fourth grade, which was the biggest shift in the 2011 framework, is writing for different purposes. And that's starting in our kindergarten classroom. Students are writing for different purposes, but how is that looking all the way through? And really, how are we assessing the different types of writing, not only in our kindergarten classrooms, but straight through to fourth grade? Something that is our final item that we're really talking about in grade 4 is vocabulary acquisition and use. And that comes along with where we're moving forward with our ELA district committee, where the goal of the district work and our ELA committee this year is to create an agreed upon methodology for vocabulary and grammar instruction across the district. So as we're having these conversations with our fourth grade teachers and the rest of our elementary staff, knowing that it's also a larger goal at the district level is something that we feel supported with. So we're looking at how we're teaching vocabulary, how we're assessing vocabulary use, and how we're increasing word usage by our students. Some of the research we've looked at so far says the only thing that increases a student's vocabulary is their speaking, listening, and reading and being able to speak about what they've read. So just trying to build capacity within our classrooms and in the home settings for students to increase their interactions with text. So that's the broad strokes as ELA as far as the data and some action items we have in place. Any questions for me before Christina speaks about math?
I just have one comment. When I was looking at the write-ups that we got, the information before the meeting, I saw open responses focus again. I started to think that I can't remember a year from the inception of NCAS till now, and we weren't talking about open response. And I remember saying once that copy machine overages and open response were the two things I didn't want to hear about happening. I think Tom Geary's nailed the copy machine. So I'm really glad that you found a different way to look at it, because I can't believe with all the great work that goes on in all the schools that it continues to be such a thorn in our side. So I'm glad you found a different way to approach it and look at it.
Because at the highest end, we were 20 points higher than the state average. I mean, so that's something to really reflect upon and consider. We're still trying to get our students to improve, but we're surpassing where the state is seeing most of the students performing at that level. Thank you.
A quick question about as you refine vocab and grammar, are you looking more at methodology and instruction as much as curriculum materials, both, more one or the other?
I think first, at the elementary level, at our October Professional Development Day, we had a chance to start to really sit down and tease out what exactly is the framework calling for at each grade level, instead of just saying, we know that we need to work on this, let's grab another program. I really wanted to back everyone up, and that's the level of success we've had with mathematics and with writing. So we've started looking at what is it that we need to be able to master at each grade level. And the next steps will be talking about what does the body of research show is the best way? What has the lasting effects for student achievement? And then looking at supporting resources for instruction if we need to. But I think we need to get on the same page as far as what do we have to teach and how we're going to do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
After Dorothy's comment, I hate to say that one of our items on our math is our open response.
Not copy machines.
I am excited, though, that we are about 20% above the state with our open response scores. But, you know, as we constantly break down, we add these items that we're looking at that we want to improve upon. And luckily, our scores have improved a lot and have stayed pretty consistent the past couple of years, so that oftentimes we are looking at a question or two that is bringing us down to a little bit of a lower level. So I don't think that any of the focus areas for math are anything that are major things, but just that a question or two we might have dipped on. And I am thrilled that we are about 20% above the state with the open response scores, but I'd like to continue with that work and just continue what we have in place now, which is writing across the curriculum in math starting in first grade, and having them really talk about how they got their answers and looking into their explanations for that as well, starting verbally in kindergarten and first grade and getting into writing as they go into second, third, and fourth grade as well. The big thing we're focusing on with math is just really looking, I feel like our teachers have a very good understanding of what the new frameworks are. They have done some incredible work really putting into place lessons to get their students to mastery. So now that they know what really needs to be taught, it's all about really looking at each of those students that are in front of us year after year, really taking advantage of those assessment meetings and seeing what have we been teaching and how do we have to tweak it based on how we taught it last year in order to really meet the needs of the students sitting in front of us today. And that's the biggest focus that our teachers are working on right now. We do that work with our entire professional learning community. The special educators are a huge part of that. Every year in August when these scores come back, I am thrilled when I look and see our special education reports and those students who we think in September, oh my goodness, how are we going to get these students where we need to get them? And those are often our students who are in our proficient and advanced. And it's because our teachers are working so closely together. We have special educators who are working so closely with classroom teachers that they are doing the same thing. Whether that special educator is there or not, that teacher is doing the same thing for those students. And I think that that's where we're seeing some great results because of our assessment meetings, because of the hard work that our special educators and our classroom teachers are doing together. So it is our hope to continue that work and really just constantly look to see who we have in front of us and what we can do to meet their needs. In addition to that, we're looking at these new frameworks and seeing how many different ways we can twist them and turn them and present them to these kiddos, looking at past MCAS tests as well as just how we might see them in a different way. We've looked at different states and how they're presenting them so that we can just constantly ask these children questions in different ways to get to the same standard so that it's not being presented and tested the same way, that we can truly see a depth of their understanding. So that is really our focus for math and keeping up that collaboration between schools as well so that we can keep the conversations the same and the lessons the same. I'm thrilled with the work that we've done so far with both schools and the different grade levels, and I'm looking forward to keeping that up. Any questions or?
Any questions, comment?
Can you, staying with that theme of that transition from 4th to 5th grade, I know if you looking at the data, there has historically been, or there had historically been a pretty significant drop in math going from 4th to 5th grade and even 5th to 6th grade. That's leveled off over the last 2 years.
Yes, I think it has.
What do you think, what do you attribute that to?
Katie and I actually were just chatting this morning. We had met, and I think that a big piece of it is that we really were able to move the concept and idea of the assessment meetings up to the middle school level. I think that if you look at where the data started to shift, we started the assessment meetings 2 years ago, and by being able to have those deep conversations about the students sitting in front of us, and to be able to say, what do we need to do to not drop these kiddos, to not let them go? We can't just say they don't have support at home, they don't have, they're struggling, but they can't come for after school help. We have them in front of us for 60 to 90 minutes every day. What can we do for those children? And I think that if you look at that, the data, we've got 5th grade had done well the previous year. This year we've got 5th and 6th grade. So if you look at it, it's the kiddos who have had the consistency of data and assessment meetings all the way through. So I think that that plays a big piece of it. We're also looking very closely and having great conversations about, what does that look like after the assessment meeting? What are the action items for the teachers? What are the action items for the students? And I think that all of those conversations and those pieces just hold that high expectation for the teachers and for the students.
That's great. Thank you.
Just a few words in closing. I don't feel like I highlighted it enough, but it's easy for the two of us to get up here, and it's easy for Jen and Brian and Jane in the past to say our scores look great. We're not the ones in the trenches. No. We're really guiding the work that the teachers are doing. They're the ones doing the daily work, and not just our 3rd and 4th grade teachers, but we're halfway through our first round of assessment meetings, and it doesn't cease to amaze us the level of professionalism that our teachers have, and the questions that they're asking about their students, the way they advocate for their students, and I know I've said it before, it's not just the low progress learners. They're really talking about how we're going to get every student to achieve at high levels and have that idea of excellence for all of our students to be able to do their best. So our thanks to the teachers for their daily work in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Okay, so next we have Steve Ralston, and he will be presenting the scores from the middle school.
Good evening. I'd like to present the 2014 spring MCAS scores for the Lynnfield Middle School. I'd first like to introduce to my left Katie Ambrose, our STEM director, and to my right Kate Robertson, our ELA Humanities and Social Studies director, and certainly thank them for all of their efforts, analyzing the results and certainly leading their respective departments. Just sort of as an opening, overall, we've certainly taken some pleasure from our gains that we've made this year. We recognize that we still have a lot more work ahead of us. And as you recall from my presentation back in the spring, we've had some really major sweeping changes at the middle school, really over the past couple of years. And just to highlight a few of those, 2 years ago we added staff members in grade 5 and 6 to create the 3 teams of 3 teachers with greater subject specificity and smaller class sizes. We've revamped our schedule to create additional instructional time in the core academics. We're really into a full implementation of the data assessment model. As Christina alluded to, grades 5 and 6 have really been doing this for a couple years now. Grades 7 and 8, just 1 year. Last year was really the first for that. We've had many layers of tutorials in mathematics over the past couple years, continuing into this year. Also starting this year, we have a couple ELA tutorials running, so we're excited about that. We have a increased co-teaching, regular ed and special ed co-teaching model in the classrooms, both for math and ELA. That's expanded and deepened over the past couple of years. And again, as I mentioned, many of these began 2 years ago in grade 5 and 6, and we're really starting to see some of those gains in 5 and 6, and looking forward to having that stronger foundation in 5 and 6, those kids moving into 7 and 8. Now we have the team model in 7 and 8, going into the second year of assessments in 7 and 8, and also that increased instructional time in 7 and 8. So we're really looking forward to these scores expanding into the upper grades. Certainly our challenges remain to move more students into the advanced proficient range, and in places such as in grade 7 ELA and grade 8 ELA, where we're already over 90% advanced proficient, trying to move more students from the proficient range up into the advanced category. So what I'd like to do is highlight a few things around ELA, math, and science. First of all, for ELA, grades 5 and 6, we were at 83 and 86% advanced proficient. Grades 7 and 8, 92 and 94% advanced proficient. We're very pleased with those results. And I'd also like to point out in grade 8, we did not have any failing students on the grade 8 ELA MCAS. Some of the interventions, as I sort of mentioned in my opening, I won't repeat all of those, but some things specific to English. This past summer, our English teachers and special educators in grade 7 came together with Kate's guidance to create a solid, cohesive grade 7 curriculum for English. Previously, we had a reading class and a language arts class, and bringing those two courses together for a single cohesive English class to make sure that everything was being, all the standards are being taught in that course. As Maureen alluded to earlier, the Common Instructional Language is developed for teaching writing, and now this year working into a focus on grammar and vocabulary. And also I'd like to highlight in social studies and humanities, students are writing response to multiple texts, practice writing for the different genres for those subjects. And those history and social studies teachers, as well as students in those courses, are using common rubrics and common language developed and handed down from the ELA department. So there's a real close tie-in between the social studies and the ELA. Moving on to mathematics, our grade 5 held relatively steady as with 84% advanced proficient. Grade 6 had a huge jump, 85% advanced proficient for grade 6 math. We're very excited about that. It's the highest number we've had in my 10 years at the middle school, so we're very happy with that. Grades 7 and 8 are at 62 and 68% advanced proficient, and just looking at those numbers, 5 and 6 are in the mid-80s, 7 and 8 are in the 60s, that trend is moving upward, and as those kids are moving forward and we're putting the things in place in grades 7 and 8 that we've had a little bit longer in 5 and 6, we're really anticipating those scores to continue to go up. A few things I'd like to highlight for mathematics. I mentioned earlier grade 7 and 8 having 54 minutes of math time instead of the 45, I think is absolutely huge. Hearing anecdotal feedback from the math teachers in 7th and 8th, and they're thrilled with the additional time and being able to get deeper into the subjects. Allowing students to have a little bit more practice time in class before they go off and attempt to complete some of the practice problems on their own at home. It's certainly not as rushed to feel as it had been for the past many years. Beyond the common assessments and the assessments that we're using for our data meetings, the teachers are also planning additional quick formative assessments that are trying to tease out a particular skill or content area, and then using flexible grouping strategies, being able to target and go into more detail and practice, with those, with whatever they've identified with those assessments. Also, sorry, Dorothy, more practice on open response writing. So it's still there. It's still there. So.
Stephen, maybe you should have gone first.
Moving on to science, we really have not seen any real movement, maybe a couple points off from last year for our science scores, both in grade 5 and grade 8. We're not thrilled with our results. They are well above the state averages, but when you're looking at a 69% in grade 5 and 55% in grade 8, certainly we have our work cut out for us there. Towards the end of last year, all of our science teachers came together to look at the sequencing and placement of the different standards within the new set of NGSS Next Generation Science Standards. And we did move several things around from grade 8 to 6, 6 to 7, in trying to find what's going to be the most age-appropriate time to hit these different topics. So we've moved some things around, and over the next couple of years, we have sort of a I can't think of the word, but a plan in place where those students who are currently in grade 6 and 7, as they move through, will not have any overlaps and will not have any gaps. So something a 6th or 7th grade teacher might teach this year this might be the last year they're doing that as those students cycle through. We want to make sure that we're not missing anything as those students go through. In some cases, making sure that all the gaps are filled. So that's sort of our biggest thing right now for the science. We're certainly working on the writing as well. The last thing I would like to mention, it's not part of the packet. I certainly acknowledge that we are a level 2 school for accountability. That is for not meeting the gap narrowing goals, students with disability subgroup. We are in very good company with many high-powered districts. However, it's not a club I'd like to be part of in this case. In unpacking and looking at the data around here, I did find some really interesting, couple interesting points I'd like to share with you. On the CPI, the Composite Performance Index, which is 1 through 100, our ELA scores were all 80 plus. They were all somewhere between 82 and 88. That big target number is to make sure that you're exceeding 75. So we're really pleased with our strides with the subgroups around ELA. Math, we still have some work to do, but a couple numbers that I'd like to share with you is our CPI for grades. This is for the students with disability subgroup. CPI number in grade 5 and 6 was 74 and 74 as compared to 47 and 49 in 7 and 8. So while I'm not thrilled with that 47 and 49 in the upper grades, I'm looking at those kids right now in grades 5 and 6 at 74. And, as we're working with them going into the upper grades, I'm really encouraged by that big gap between the 70s and the 40s. And really, I think that's reflective of some of the things that we've now had in place for 2 years in the lower grades, the additional class time, and as well as the 2 full years of the data assessment model in grades 5 and 6, and certainly our increase around the co-taught math and the co-taught English between special ed and regular ed, and some of our small group interventions as well for those subjects. So we're not where we want to be, but we're really encouraged by what we're seeing in 5 and 6 and putting in place now in 7 and 8. So at this point, I'll entertain any questions.
Well, Steve, I just want to thank you for the presentation on the results for the Lynnfield Middle School. Any comments or questions from the committee?
I do. Thank you. Steve, this might be for Miss Ambrose. Open response.
Mm-hmm.
Do the open response items move the CPI needle more than the individual multiple choice items? And is that why there's more of a focus in your action plan on the open response?
The open response, open response can count as
Are they
many
still
as
worth
4
the
times.
4 points? Right,
four
so,
as,
okay.
You know, that's the equivalent of 4 multiple choice questions.
Gotcha.
So,
Right,
you know,
that's what
certainly
I thought.
that's a part of it, yes.
Okay. And so, in consideration of the science scores in general, and this is, maybe it's a rhetorical question, one you don't have to answer this evening, might there be room for more specific item analysis of the multiple choice questions within the science?
Absolutely.
As a suitable aspect of the action plan?
And the, you know, the 8th grade science exam, you know, we certainly perform better on grade 5 than grade 8. The 8th grade science exam, you know, is a range of, you know, topics and material covered from that, you know, 6 through 8 span. And the state and even the next gen standards does not delineate what subject or what topics, whether you know, if you cover genetics in grade 6, 7, or 8, that's up to each school. So you know, it's it just makes it a little, you know, trickier, you know, because you're looking at some of the, you know, the questions and say, oh boy, we really fell down on this question. This was, you know, maybe we need to be teaching this in grade 8 with a greater level of complexity.
Thank you. And before I came here this evening, I was reviewing the action plan. I had a question about lab reports, but Sydney and Jonathan's presentation answered the questions. It's about impact.
Yeah,
and
the lab
predicting
report-
and drawing conclusions. I don't have to ask that question, thank you.
Do you see how good that was, Sal?
But I did,
Thank
just
you.
to follow up on the lab reports, last year our science department came together and created a rubric and a progression on lab reports from grade 5 when they're really writing their first lab reports up through grade 8. And then we've been in close communication with high school, so when our kids are leaving 8th grade, they should have exactly what the high school is expecting them to have as far as walking into a science lab and putting together the conclusions, analyzing the data, and sure, I'm glad you got to see a sample of that tonight.
Thank you.
Steve, I think, I mean, this is for the firm. I've been on the school committee for almost 3 years now. And this is the one time you've sat down and I've looked at the statistics and the data, and I'm seeing a lot of the investment and the energy we put into the middle school. I'm starting to see the results.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't expecting to see the gains in 7 and 8 that we've seen in 5 and 6. And that's because we've invested a whole lot, as you said, in those 2 grades. But especially 5 into 6 for the 2013 5th grade. A lot of these, I mean, the 4th grade comes in strong, and they've demonstrated in 5th grade. They've maintained a lot of those statistics, but they've kept the gains at the 6th grade. So I'm very confident that the plan you've put into place for 7th and 8th, which is the same plan for 5th and 6th, you're going to be able to hold on to those gains and maintain them.
Absolutely.
Because we might be a level 2, and there's some very high-powered districts that are level 2. I mean, Winchester, you get the Westons, you get the Welsleys of the world. Redden's a level 3. But I see a plan here to kind of get us out of level 2, and I think it's an exciting plan. And I think whether it's the foundation you set, the instruction time, almost 50 minutes a week, almost 27 hours a year, a little over 27, in that team approach, I just think it's a great job and a good job.
Thank you.
I would echo a lot of what Chris said. Looking, and I went through and did the analysis year by year, grade level by grade level, and there, as I said to Christina before, you're not seeing that erosion, especially in math, from grade 4 to 5 specifically. So I think that's a data point that says we're really headed in the right direction. I wanted, just looking at the numbers, one thing that I am noticing is there is a little bit of plateauing in ELA and a little bit of drop within the advanced proficient.
Right.
All right. And I just don't want to be here 2 or 3 years from now where we see a couple of small erosions that lead to a bigger gap. Is that something you guys are focused on? And if so, you know, what are the actions that are being taken there?
Absolutely. I mean, jump in if I misspeak, but you know, with the ELA and certainly we see that plateau as well. And I think we're still adjusting a little bit because when we went with the additional class time that really gave a big boost to mathematics, some of that time did come from ELA because we would have a 45-minute reading class and a 45-minute language arts class. So that was 90 minutes of ELA that we've had well before I arrived 10 years ago. So we've had 90 minutes of ELA, 45 minutes of math. And when we went to the new, the newer model, certainly math got a big boost. Some of that time did come out of ELA, and we've tried to, work with humanities and social studies to, make sure we give some of that time back. We certainly recognize and acknowledge that plateau, and we're aware of it, and we're somewhat grateful that wasn't a dip.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for ELA to plateau for that period, and now that we're several years into that one single course, but using the humanities to augment that, and doing a lot more with writing across the curriculum in all subjects. Those are things that we're hopeful will start boosting us back up. Kate,
Yeah,
if
I
you
just
wanna-
wanted to jump into, this is our second year with the assessment meetings for ELA. So while they started with math a few years ago, last year was our first year. This year, our real focus is looking at how to really challenge the students to go to the next level, where we've got 0 at the warning level in 8th grade. Now how do we get everyone to move up? So that's definitely a focus as we go forward. We're always looking at what standards the students need to have reinforcement on, but then also, okay, they've mastered this, how can we up the ante? So.
And just, we've heard a lot about what's being implemented at 5th and 6th grade. And, now those 5th and 6th graders are into 7th and 8th, and it's great because it's being extended into 7th and 8th. But I'm hearing a lot, there are some gaps here, and this may be more geared towards high school, and actually part of this question may be geared towards Kara, and we can take it offline. But I hear that 74% versus 49%, and what are we doing to address those students who haven't had the benefit of everything that's leading up to this change?
That was particular to the math and the
Particular to math, particular to special ed. And even maintaining the reading, the ELA.
And we have the tutorials in grades 7 and 8, as well as in grades 7 and 8 we also have leveled mathematics. We have the co-taught, and then we also have other supports in class for the mathematics. Certainly. Getting more and more into the data assessment and the interim assessments. We've done it in grades 5 and 6 for math for 2 solid years now. Last year, 7 and 8, that was their first year. 7 and 8 math, we did not do that 2 years ago. So, as well as ELA. So, everyone's at the table now, and we're hopeful that some of the things that kind of have proven themselves to us in 5 and 6 as interventions, we can replicate those in the upper grades.
I also think the more that we're getting special ed and regular ed on the same page and really teaming together, working together, co-teaching together, co-planning together, I think all of those things will benefit students as well. So,
Absolutely. We've had a lot of conversations internally with special education staff and the role of the special education teacher. The middle school and the high school too, schedules present a lot of challenges with giving that special design instruction outside of subject area classes. So we've worked a lot with how can we maximize every minute of their day, and so that's where we spend a lot of time sending special ed teachers into the classroom to establish those relationships with the subject area teachers, so that they're modifying content, format in the moment when they're in class, so that they're not playing catch up constantly. It's really, we've got long blocks now, let's maximize every minute of those blocks. So I think we are seeing benefits of that.
I just want to make a quick comment just to applaud you guys. I feel like when you guys sit in front of us consistently, there's always kind of a wait and see. We have to wait and see what's going to happen now that we've implemented new things. But clearly, we put you to task, and you've made significant changes, and we're seeing the results of improvement. And you've continued to say, well, this has worked, so where else can I, implement it? And you've been very open-minded, and you've thought outside the box, and you've revamped a lot of things. And clearly, it's working, and I think it's been a lot of work for you guys, and a lot of changes, and everyone seems to be good spirited about it. And I have to say, just watching you sit there, you seem happier and
Oh, thank God.
better demeanor and everything. So I think
it's funny because the clock's ticking, and it's quite possible that this coming spring is our last go round with MCAS. So I want to get off level 2 and
Right on top.
So it's a little race before the next accountability, and then potentially park. But
right. So
we're
I know
pleased
that
with our progress, and
Yeah.
can't wait for.
I think you should be, and I know you said you're not where you want to be, but I think you're in a really good spot. You're clearly proving that you're moving forward and putting the changes in place that need to be there, and we appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
And thank you for all of your support, the past several years with the new schedule initiative, as well as the staffing request. So I appreciate that.
Well, Steve, I just want to thank you. You said you're part of that level 2 group, but I really see a blueprint here to get us out of there, and that group will look to you and to all of us to kind of lead them out of it. So I think that's great. We're seeing some great gains. And I look forward to next year to hear that we continue them to the 7th and the 8th grade. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Kevin Sear, assistant principal of the high school. And Mary Ellen, are you joining? Sure. Mary Ellen Valley, who is the ELA curriculum department, ELA department head at the high school.
Good evening. Once again, I'm pleased to present the high school MCAS scores. It's always an easy honor, considering the work that's been done before us. I mean, our students continue to perform at such a high level, and the number of students scoring in the advanced and proficient category is most impressive and continues to be. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank those folks from elementary through the middle school years to the high school, in terms of the teaching that goes on there and the leadership. I think we're just fortunate. It's certainly the hard work that the students have done, and the work in the trenches that you, as Mary Ellen Annabelli, as the English department head, and Mary Lou Sambatakis as the math department chair, and Scott Gordon as the science department head. I mean, they're in the trenches doing the data and the analysis through the curriculum work and the team meetings, and making sure that that's reflected in what we're doing in the classroom. So kudos to all those folks. Bob, I never give you any credit, but you certainly during MCAS administration. No, truly, not just during MCAS administration, but also with makeup and inventory, just all the nitty gritty that goes on behind the scenes that I'm allowed to attend to other tasks like running a building. So I'm fortunate for that. Thank you to the school committee, along with the support of the superintendent as well. So all grade 10 students participated in the test for ELA and math. It was our 9th graders that tested in biology this past year. So I did include the bar graphs for the last 3 years, and you can see that in addition to this year, the 4 years prior, again, that the advanced and proficient category across the board is pretty impressive. We had 98% scored advanced and proficient in ELA, and 94% in biology and 89% in math. Yet, we continue to look at the data and see, what we can do to move forward in a positive direction. With ELA, we still really take a close look at the needs improvement, the group of students that really considered to be at risk, and what we can do to move those students forward. And we do that through the educational proficiency plans. For any student that does not reach proficiency, this involves a meeting with the guidance counselor and the parent. And also, we look at what additional supports we might be able to put in place to move that student toward proficiency and beyond. The evening program is something we offer across all the content areas. That leads 6 weeks leading up to the test. The grant money has actually dried up, but we're pretty fortunate that this program will continue. I think it's been so successful that we have the support of the district to make sure that we still continue to offer that program at no cost to families. And that's for each of the 3 subject areas, and that's for the 6 weeks leading up to each exam. We still offer the MCAS support classes during the school day with a focus on what those areas are of weakness and the skill sets that we need to kind of to move that student or students forward in a positive direction. With one thing as well we've done across the board is this move toward common assessments, and I think we've done a pretty good job with that. And with district determined measures now, we continue to do even more work with DDMs, and I think that that's just an asset in terms of what we're doing. And with grade level discussions with teachers, looking at student data across the board, I think it's just more, it's really forcing that issue to have those, common grade level meetings, and I think that that's going to be a real positive for us as we move forward with our DDM work. In math and biology, we lead off typically each class with either a problem of the day, or in science we call it the first 5. Typically that's a quick check where it's typically a prompt or a question that you may see on an MCAS test, but it doesn't take a lot of class time, and it's reinforced throughout the school year. So it's either the beginning of the class or the end of the class, just constantly not losing sight also of where some of those weaknesses are, and just making those part of the regular curriculum. We really need to just continue to be proactive. I think being proactive at identifying those students that are at risk, and based on previous scores and teacher recommendations, and communicating. I mean, communicating is key from, you heard it, from the elementary level through the middle school level to the high school level, and keeping those doors open. Ultimately, it's that vertical articulation, I think, that's going to benefit all students. And I think, just in the brief time that we've worked under Jane, I think that's been a real priority already this year. So it's something that's nice to see. And of course, the professional development time has afforded us the ability to do that as well. We've talked a little bit about special education, and I think Kara's correct. I just see the special education teachers that are working within the regular ed classroom and having those constant conversations with teachers and with students, and just making sure that we're providing that tiered level of support for those students that are at risk. Any student that did not pass the exam will obviously take the retest, and we'll continue to provide supports both during the school day, in addition to pull-out supports as well, just to get them where they need to be. ELA was consistent. I mean, with the 98% scoring in advanced and proficient is actually identical to how we performed last year from a consistency standpoint. We had 74% scoring advanced last year as well. So pretty level there as far as ELA goes. You can't do much better than 98%. The biology scores, we saw an increase with 94% scoring advanced and proficient. This is actually a 10% increase in comparison to 2013. So I think we had 48% of students scoring advanced as opposed to 38% last year. So it's nice to see that jump in the advanced category. Math, we had a slight dip with the 89% in the advanced and proficient category, with the 66% scoring advanced. This is actually just it was a 3% dip there with the percentage of students that were actually in the advanced and proficiency category. Still well above and beyond the state numbers. So we certainly will continue as we move forward, taking a look at the data. I think through our common curriculum work and I think the more we can have those discussions, I think the professional development time, like I said, has really afforded us an ability to have more time for data analysis and common assessment. I think these are, these themes are going to really, this time is really going to afford us the ability to move forward in a positive direction. So we're excited about that, having that time again this year, and hopefully hearing from all the folks that we're up here today. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think it's, whether or not it's MCAS or it's Park or whatever it may be next year, I think we're going to be in great shape here. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Any comments or questions? Sal?
Yes, Kevin, thank you. Question about the MCAS support class during the school day. What's the time frame on that? When does it begin?
Yeah, it meets typically 3 days out of the cycle.
2 days.
2 days out of the cycle.
And it's a full year course.
So it starts in September?
Yes.
Based as soon as you're able to finalize. Thank you. And just
Typical class period. 50
Okay.
minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. And just a comment, I'm so impressed with that science score, 94%. You took a cohort of 8th graders that were pretty much 60% advanced proficient and moved them, that cohort, to 94%. That's amazing. Is it not? That's a tremendous growth. I mean, and I know MCAS performance at the high school is clearly related to the K-8, the work of the K-8 teachers preparing those students for that successful transition to high school, because the knowledge and the skills are cumulative and sequential. But I'm particularly impressed with the way that cohort moved as an 8th grade group.
I think there's a part of that too, that biology, specificity.
Okay.
Exam.
Okay.
It's pretty focused what you're looking at.
Should I not be as impressed then? Oh.
Yeah.
No,
It'll
it's
still be
still-
so impressed.
I think it's great.
We're going to go with that, Sal.
Thank you. Okay.
It's still very impressive. but
Okay.
we're Looking for a reason for that. I think that's one
Sure.
of the things that we
Okay.
we deal with that science exam. It always throws us into that, when we have kids that transfer in.
Yep.
We try to focus on that biology. I think we do a pretty good job. And Scott has a lot of materials for it. So we have students that come in, prepare them for that February exam or whatever is coming in. And that biology exam seems to be the one.
Okay, thank you. And I'm still very pleased with the work of Principal Ralston, don't get me wrong.
Well, and it's
Thank you.
so much more of a challenge at the middle school because it is a survey exam as opposed to a subject-specific.
Thank you. Okay.
It's kind of like Steve loosens it up.
Right, exactly.
I said our teachers teach the evening program as well. And that first 5, it's like the problem of the day in science. I mean, Scott Gordon actually developed that program, and that's used across the state in terms of when you look at the actual test that marries some of the work that's on the test.
Thank you.
I would just echo the congratulations and just picking out, I know Steve brought up the CPI scores. The grade 10 ELA was a 99.1, which is the highest in the district, so that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Contribute a lot of that too to our co-taught classes. We have co-taught classes in freshman and sophomore year, and we're really able to target students who are more at risk and students who are incoming students who have transferred back in to the district as well.
Impressive. Any other comments or questions? Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We should recognize everyone for not passing out in the
I know.
Yeah, no,
There's
that's,
a woman here.
especially looking at numbers. So I think we'll move on to the next item tonight. Just as important, and it plays well into the presentation that we just received on the MCAS and the data. We're going to talk tonight about the superintendent's goals and the overarching goals for the district goals. One thing that Jane spoke about a couple of meetings ago was her entry plan, and this plays into that. We've been speaking since the summer on our district goals, and a lot of our goals have remained the same as they were last year because they were just continuing to focus on them and to invest in the areas we need. So Dorothy and Sal are going to speak. They're our goals subcommittee, and they'll speak to certainly our goals.
We'll speak to the overarching goals. We'll let Jane take the lead on speaking about the superintendent goals. Actually, the subcommittee was really easy, based on all the work that we did as the full committee, discussing the overarching goals in our workshop over the summer and in our follow-up because we didn't finish the first time. So basically, what we did was, kind of take the discussion we had, tighten up and clarify some of the wording. And what you see in front of you for the district goals is pretty much identical to what we had discussed as a full committee.
I just wanted to say it's a great process, and it's wonderful having Dorothy's expertise because of her work with the MASC and probably some work with the new superintendent's induction program. Was I correct in hearing that there are 35 new superintendents across the state?
That is correct.
Goes to how difficult and challenging the job is. And I just wanted to say, as we work with Jane and brainstormed around formulating her goals, you really recognize your role as the instructional leader of the district, and you're forging a path for a vision and a mission. But more importantly, you realize that there has to be buy-in from the stakeholders, and so that you're very inclusive in that process as far as reaching out to all segments of not just the educational community, but all of Lynnfield as you finalize your goals. A very inclusive approach. So it's great to have that insight into it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, go ahead.
Can I just ask one question about these district-wide goals? And it's a small thing, but it feels like it. On number 3, talking about alignment with Common Core standards, should that be Mass framework, the Mass framework standards? Because if I'm understanding it correctly, Common Core is within the Mass framework.
That's right. The actual
rigorous.
name, if you look at the frameworks, it says Mass Frameworks Incorporating the Common Core. So, I mean, we could change that to say Mass Frameworks Incorporating the Common Core. Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, the one thing we'll do is going to put this online, so we have to read through the goals, so the public who's watching, everybody who's watching tonight, can read what our overarching goals are. Jane, do you want to go in and present now your goals?
Sure. And so one of the things that was very important for me to make sure that happened in formulating my goals was to make sure that they correlated hand in hand with the overarching goals. And so on the document that you have in front of you, again, this will be posted once it's voted on, not only does it show what the measurements will be, it shows what the benchmarks will be, the evidence that I will present to you or you will have by the time it comes time for you to evaluate me on these goals. But I also took time and care to make sure that it was crystal clear for you to know where they link into the superintendent's rubric from the DESE, and also where they directly link into our overarching goals, so that there would be no question as to how these dovetail together. And so what I'd like to do is just share with you, there are 4 goals, and just state what the goals are, and then if you have any questions about any part of it, I can answer any questions for you, okay? And so the first goal falls under the umbrella of a district improvement goal, and the goal states that I will improve communication with all stakeholders, including students, faculty, parents, school committee, and the greater Lynnfield community. The description of the goal is to increase communication regarding Lynnfield Public Schools, to include information about the education of students, extracurricular activities, and other relevant information and topics that are pertinent to the social, emotional, and academic growth of the students. So that's the broad part of the goals. So then if we go down to goal number 2 is also a district improvement goal. And the title of it is Integrate Technology Effectively to Enhance Teaching and Learning for All Students. The description of the goal is to ensure the authentic and genuine use of technology to enhance instructional practices in the classroom, resulting in increased student participation, engagement, and preparedness in the overall educational experience. Goal number 3 is under a professional practice goal, and because I am a new superintendent in the state of Massachusetts, my professional practice goal is around the new superintendent induction program. And the description of the goal is develop skills in strategy development, data analysis, and instructional leadership by completing the first year of the new superintendent induction program. By the completion of the entry plan, the school committee will have an understanding of the educational direction that the district will head in during the next 1 to 5 years. I will share the findings of the entry plan with school committee members. The findings will help drive the development of the district goals for next year, the plan to achieve the goals, as well as the method of assessment to determine the effectiveness of the overall plan. And then the last goal for me for this year is the student improvement goal, which is a fair, effective classroom teacher evaluation. And the description of that goal is to ensure a shared vision of excellence and instructional practices and student achievement as measured by principals and district administrators' ratings of classroom instruction. And so what that's really looking at is the overall teacher evaluation process. We jumped into it last year. We still have a lot of kinks to work out. And one of the things that I was listening to tonight, and what really brought me back to thinking about what is most important, it's really that shared vision for what it is we're trying to do and how we're going to do it and how will we know that we do it. And so I'm feeling that all 4 of these goals really go back to that. What is our shared vision? The district goals really led me to formulate these goals. So I would be really happy to have a conversation or discuss any part of these for clarification, for anything that you may want to discuss.
Any comments or questions?
I think Sal and I had a chance to discuss these, but we had some, in the subcommittee, we had some really great discussion about how they tied to the district goals. In fact, Jane changed 2 of the goals that she had based on realigning them more to what Lynnfield needed as opposed to what might have been sort of a template that was given by the state a number of years ago. So she has done, and heard a lot from Sal and I, she's done a lot of work to make sure that these goals reflect the discussion that we've had so far, what she's seen in her work in the district so far.
Dorothy, I have to concur. I think the one thing that's really impressed me with her goals is it ties right back, you're right, to the district overarching goals. And I mean, the measurements there, the benchmark, the data, everything's right there. And I think that was certainly helped guide us this year with our overarching goals, because it's going to direct the goals of the administrators and right into the classroom. So I thought that this is very impressed with the hard work. And I know, Dorothy, I have to say again what Sal said. I know how focused you've been on this, working with the School Committee Association and the great work. We're lucky to have you to help us develop this with Sal and Jane.
Happy to do it.
Moving forward beyond this year, these will become longer-term goals in the future
So
with checkpoints at the end of each year. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but we also will have a clearer direction of where we're going in the future from the finance committee. So things could change depending on what we decide the direction we're going to take. There still may be a technology goal on there. There still may be part of this, but this is really, this really falls under the umbrella of we still have work to do this year as we're waiting for all of my findings to be done and for me to have that final report. Dorothy, is that accurate?
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
So we have the district goals, which are more aspirational, which are not as specific. So every year Jane would look at her goals again and look at them as, smart, specific, measurable, action-oriented, so forth. So the question for the goals every year answer the question, what will we do this year to move us closer and closer to the vision that we have for the district? So they may be similar topics, but they would have a new set of benchmarks and evidence and so forth to lead us to that. That makes sense?
Yep, absolutely.
And just to tie into what Chris said, we purposefully, as an administrative leadership team, the principals have not done their goals yet. And I purposefully asked them to wait before we start formulating their goals, because it only made sense to me that my goals really had to be done before they could work on their goals. Just as the overarching district goals had to be done in order for me to do my goals, now my goals have to be completed before the principals can work on their goals. And again, they all will be dovetailed together. So we're all working for that common vision and that common understanding of where it is we want to go.
And it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not likely that we're going to change or even tweak the overarching goals. Am I correct?
We may tweak some of the objectives as things.
Because they're very general, but yet they're on 4 very specific areas, so.
And they're big areas.
Yeah, exactly, it's really big picture.
And we tried to do that.
Yeah.
And a couple of meetings ago, we thought of what can we develop new goals, and we looked at, we're still working on these pretty and these big goals as a district, and it's not something we're going to accomplish overnight.
They didn't change all that much from last year.
No.
The overarching
Exactly,
goals,
yeah.
you can kind of think of them as vision statements and targeted
Mhm.
areas.
Okay.
So they
Yep,
wouldn't really
right.
change so much from year to year.
I didn't think so, right, okay.
And I think as her goals have allowed us to get a little more specific. I think
Yes.
the data and the measurement with what we're looking for, and I think that's the thing that's really impressed me with her goals, is that it's kind of gave some weight to ours and some statistics and measurement we can look at.
And hopefully next year we can start the whole process a little earlier.
Yes.
So that we're not getting so far into the year before the goals are actually established.
Absolutely.
I just want to comment that, throughout the entire document, you can see what Sal is talking about as far as collaboration and, getting buy-in from all the stakeholders. And, as I'm reading it over, I'm thinking, Jane has a lot of meetings. There's a lot of conversations going on in here, but it's great to see, your presence at the different schools and, your group approach to everything and making sure that everyone's involved in the processes. So I appreciate that. Busy woman.
You've certainly met some of the guidelines you've set with communication. We've seen it already in just in a couple of months, and a couple of students have already told me in the district they've seen you several times in their classroom. So I think the visibility piece is right there, Jane. So great job, and I appreciate that.
You've actually qualified how many times you will use your Twitter account. I think that's,
Well,
talk about specificity.
It has to be measurable, Sal.
Measurable, there you go, that's right.
So if I retweet it, does that get you too?
I don't know. I guess you all would have to
Yeah.
decide that. Does a retweet consider as a tweet?
We're gonna have to look at that.
Any other comments, questions? The great work, Sal and Dorothy and Jane. Excellent work.
And thank you, Dorothy and Sal, for your help, because your comments really did help bring it all to where it is today. So I really appreciate that. It was a great process working with the two of you. It was I learned so much through it. And as I said to the administrators, we had a administrative leadership team meeting today, and I said, I'm so glad I went through that whole process, every single piece of it, so that now I can clearly sit down with all of you and I have a crystal clear vision of how we have to move going forward to create their goals. So.
Great. I think we can move on to the superintendent's report. I really don't know what else you can report on,
Well,
Jane,
just a
after
couple
tonight.
things. I just really want to comment on Friday night and how just really terrific Friday night was. I feel like we've talked about opening night, we've talked about the fields so much that it really was a wonderful celebration for this town and for the schools. It was great to see so many students there, from kindergarten students all the way through. A lot of alum came back. A lot of students were home for college for the weekend. And it was just a great, great celebration. The feeling of community and togetherness and pride, you could feel it just walking into that stadium. It was
Yeah,
pretty
it was
magnificent.
excellent.
So I just want to comment on that. And then a couple of other things. In terms of my entry plan, I know we just talked about our goals, but the next thing that will be coming out that I really want people to know about is that there will be surveys coming out I've done a survey for all of the administrators. I've done a survey for each of the faculty members at the different levels, and I've also created a survey for each of the parents and guardians at the different levels. And I have to tell you, Jen Judkins, again, has just been wonderful in helping me put all that together. And hopefully we'll be getting that out within the next week. And I do want people to take that seriously. I do want people to answer it, because I'm asking the question. And if I'm asking the question, I want answers. And sort of now's the time to speak, because I'm asking you for your opinions and your voice and what's important and what's working and what's not working. And that the only thing that your answers are going to do for me is to really help me move forward. So I just really want to highlight that. And then underneath the, actually my first goal of communication, I've started a blog, and the blog is on the website, and I am a novice blogger, but nonetheless, I still think it's a really important way to communicate with families and with the public in terms of what's happening in the schools. And also the other thing that I'm putting on my blog, I think they're pretty fascinating and interesting short articles about students, about parenting, about education, and the way that I'm looking at it is if I think that it's going to help some people wrap their head around all of this thing that we do every single day at Lynnfield Public Schools, I'm going to write a little blurb about it and put it up on the blog. But I do encourage people to read and to let me know their thoughts. Again, another way to get some feedback from the community. So other than that.
Jane, surveys are electronic, correct?
Say it again?
Surveys are electronic only.
They will all be electronic.
And how will the community be notified?
About what?
About the surveys.
I will
they
send
be-
out a Connect Ed.
Connect Ed, great.
So I will
Okay.
send out a Connect Ed with a letter to each of the stakeholders.
Excellent.
With the survey attached. And the letter, Sal, will explain the purpose of the survey, and will also explain a little bit about my entry plan in the new superintendent induction program, because I feel like I can't talk about it enough. I just feel like it's a really important part of us right now and the school committee, so I think people should really continue to hear about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. On to our next, speaking of public participation and communication, certainly that's something that we absolutely value and welcome as a school committee, as public participation. And some of the things we've discussed is certainly as a school committee, which makes us a little different than other boards in the town. Sometimes we handle some sensitive issues that deal with students and faculty, and we have to be a little more, or a whole lot more protective of the identity and the of students and faculty. So what we're going to begin to do, without the objection of anybody on this committee, is for the next meeting on our agenda is include public comment protocols. Now, this wasn't the result of anything that we've heard. It's more of we kind of wanted to define that so that if we have any comments, there's guidelines that we can point the public to. And there'll be nothing really different other than they're really going to just highlight the part about speakers speak with confidentiality and keeping in mind speakers speaking about another child or their own children. And I think we have to hold ourselves to that. As school committee members, I think we have students in the district. As I'd like to sometimes talk about my children, it's probably not the best practice. It certainly isn't the best practice because it certainly is that confidentiality piece. So we'll start to include that on next week's agenda, or the next meeting's agenda, with no objections from the committee. And with that, as any public participation? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.